Baja California is a peninsula which measures 800 miles in length. The Pacific Ocean is on its west coast, and the body of water which separates it from mainland Mexico is known as the Gulf of California or the Sea of Cortez. They both refer to the same body of water. The land comprises two states of the country of Mexico, Baja California and Baja California Sur meaning south, and over 40% of the area is protected for the desert habitat and the wildlife and the marine life which it contains. If you were to, say, fly out of Laredo, Mexico on the Baja California Peninsula, and then fly towards mainland Mexico and the United States, one would be following this long length. You would see the geologic formations, and you would fly over this Gulf of California. Ultimately, you would reach the point where the Gulf of California ends, and therefore there is a contiguous connection between the upper portion of Baja California and mainland Mexico just before reaching the United States border. You might wonder what formed this unique geologic region. The short version is that this peninsula was once attached to mainland of Mexico. It has begun to pull away and continues to pull away at a rate of about 2 inches a year. And this will continue through the United States state of California as well along the San Andreas Fault. And this region of California, both California state, the western portion, and Baja California, will drift away from the North American continent and become its own microcontinent. To me personally, the most fascinating aspect of the geology of Baja California is that it is not unique to Baja California. Baja California gives us a glimpse into some of the primordial forces which have molded the surface of our entire planet. And so therefore it's a fascinating glimpse into planet Earth. In the Earth's mantle, there are currents of magma, and these can cause pressure and movements of the continental plates which sit over them. And there are areas where rising mantle causes weak points in the crust. And as new mantle magma cools, it forms new rock, which then forces crustal plates to separate from each other. This is a very slow process. As I had mentioned, Baja California is widening at about 2 inches a year. The Atlantic Ocean is widening each year by an inch or two. So as uh, plates are pushed apart in a rift zone, new rock forms. Water may fill in this area, and thus seas and oceans can widen. A second important process is as plates move, if there is a widening at one part of the globe, obviously something has to happen somewhere else to accommodate for the space. And so one plate can be forced under a second plate. The one which is subducting and being forced deeper then essentially melts in the high temperatures. But since there are different elements, the lighter elements rise to the surface. And so there are parts of the planet where plates meet, where there is material which is rising. This can form mountain ranges and it can uplift areas. So mountain ranges can rise, and areas which were formerly the sea floor can then become dry land. So, with these two principles in mind, here is a brief history of the Baja California plate. It was about 200 million years ago that the surface under the Pacific Ocean, what we call the Pacific Plate, was born. So it was in the middle of an ocean, which we don't call the Pacific Ocean, and there were a number of other plates making up the bottom of the ocean at that time. So the Pacific Plate was born. It was surrounded by rift zones, so it continued to get wider and wider and wider. And as it did, it pushed the existing plates, such as the Phaleron plate, um, towards the continental crusts. This Phaleron plate was then subducted, including a part of the plate known as the Guadalupe plate, which was being pushed against the land of mainland Mexico. This started around 38 million years ago and resulted in significant volcanism 10 million years ago, forming the Sierra Madre Occidental, a mountain range on the other side of Baja, California. From this, the Comondu volcanic field formed west of the Sierra Madre, and thus what was formerly bottom of the ocean was now dry land. Interestingly, this was around when the subduction stopped because the Guadalupe plate was then largely subducted under Mexico and no longer existed. There are a few pieces which remain at the bottom of the ocean, but this former plate was now gone. The rift, which had been the border of the Pacific Plate, which was where it was widening, then migrated. It was underwater at the edge of the Pacific Plate, but it migrated under the continent so that it was underneath the Mexico mainland. It caused a rupture in the continental crust, forming the Baja microplate. So now what had been one plate was now a big one and a little one, and the rift was under the point where they split. As the rift began to produce new material at the rate of about 2 inches a year, this then caused the Baja Peninsula to separate from the mainland, starting at the southernmost region, which is where the widening is the greatest. This peninsula, as it moved, there was volcanic activity along the length of it. And so there were times where some of it was underwater, some of it broke off and formed islands, which one can find in the Gulf of California. Much of this was around 10,000 years ago. And so this is how the Baja Peninsula formed from mainland Mexico. And this is how it will continue to form into the state of California as it separates as well. This is a glimpse into the processes which have formed many of the structures of planet Earth, not just this region.